There were Nephilim on the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and bare children to them. The same were the mighty men of old, the men of renown. Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 7 are some of the most enigmatic verses in the Old Testament. What do these verses refer to? Was there actually giants living on the earth at the time before the Great Flood? This period is often called the antediluvian period. Ante means before, and diluvian means deluge or flood. Many early Jewish writings and other ancient texts expound upon these verses. Josephus, the first-century Jewish historian, implies they are related to the Greek gods.
Josephus and the Book of Antiquities, many angels of God now consorted with women, and begot sons who were overbearing and disdainful of every virtue. Such confidence had they in their strength. In fact, the deeds tradition ascribed to them recalled the audacious exploits told by the Greeks of the giants. But Noah urged them to adopt a better frame of mind and change their ways. The Book of Antiquities, chapter 3.
When people began to multiply, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that they were fair, and they took wives for themselves of all that they chose. Genesis 6:1.
Do angels have sex? The text tells us that the angels, they're called the sons of God, mate with human women and produce a race of giants as their offspring. Now, the story seems to represent this as something that displeases God. God doesn't like the idea of this mixing between the angelic realm and the earthly realm.
Multiply and face the earth. Daughters were born unto them, but the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. In other words, we have here the sons of God, B'nai Elohim, the angelic creatures of God, looked down on earth women and lusted after them. They took wives of all whom they chose, and the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. And the next sentence, there were giants in the earth in those days and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bare children unto them. The same became mighty men. Those would be the Titans of old, the Olympians, the Greek and Roman giants of mythology, except the Jews never believed those were mythological creatures. Josephus said that the Titans were one and the same as these mighty men mentioned in Genesis.
Because we're taking the message right from the Word of God.
Right.
And Genesis 6 is just one passage that talks about the angels. The book of Jude, of course, talks about the fallen angels, talks about angels who kept not their first estate, but were kept in chains for the last day. So there's a dark story here, and what you've just told us right out of Genesis 6 is that these angels left their first estate in heaven. They obviously had a free will, and they came to earth and procreated with human women who they lusted after, who they found attractive. If you go into the ancient book of Enoch, it says, and of course Enoch is not gospel and not the canon of Scripture, but in the book of Enoch, which a lot of old-time historians valued greatly, it says clearly that these angels looked upon the women and their long hair, and they found that very attractive. And of course, you read the writings of Paul later in the Gospels, where he talks about women hiding their hair, putting their hair up.
Absolutely, and there is a spiritual component to all this, and that spiritual component has to do with the fall and with sin. There was a fall in heaven as well as a fall on earth, and that fall produced a race of giants called the fallen ones, the Nephilim. That's who we're talking about, which comes from the Hebrew verb nafal, which means to fall. In fact, nafal gives us our English word fall, just as a little side issue there. But the Bible says there were giants in the earth in those days and also after that.
The flood of the Bible and the flood of the Greek myth are remarkably similar. Is it possible a core of truth existed in the Greek myths? Were the Greek gods actually the Nephilim? Nephilim is the Hebrew expression for the fallen giants. Were the fathers of the Titans and the Olympians the fallen angels, called the sons of God in Genesis 6? The ancient Greeks believed in a flood that destroyed all mankind, similar to the account in the Bible. In the Greek myth, the flood took place during the age of Deucalion. Deucalion and his wife Pyrrha were warned in advance of a coming flood and told to construct a chest and fill it with provisions. The source of the coming flood was the anger of Zeus towards mankind. Zeus had become disgusted at the degeneration of humans, and in particular, the practice of human sacrifice. Zeus assembled the gods and decided to destroy mankind by water. Deucalion and Pyrrha survived the flood by floating in the chest they built. There are differences between the Greek myth and the account in the Bible. However, both maintain the world was destroyed as a result of mankind's sin, and the human race was saved as a result of a few individuals leading a righteous life. Every culture around the world has a flood story. Many of these stories refer to giants before the flood, just as the Greeks referred to their gods, the Titans and the Olympians. Many scholars are making the association of these Greek gods with the Nephilim and the fallen angels from the Genesis account. And just like the flood, many cultures around the world have legends of the star people, the ones who came down from heaven. I am convinced the star people are the fallen angels, the sons of God.
If you study classic Greek mythology, you run into the Titans. These creatures in the legends and the myths were partly terrestrial and partly celestial. They rebelled against their father Uranus, and after a prolonged contest were defeated by Zeus and condemned where? Into Tartarus. Do you see a parallel brewing here? I'm going to suggest to you that the legends of the ancient Greeks embody the truth of what really happened in the past, that there were these strange creatures generating hybrids that the Greek called Titans. And we see Zeus in many forms. We see Atlas and Hercules. Atlas and Hercules from Greek mythology were what would be called in the Hebrew Nephilim, offspring of an intermarriage between a god and a woman. And so now these legends we obviously see in the Sumer culture, in Assyria, in Egypt. I'll show you a few things. In the Incas, the Mayan, the Epic of Gilgamesh, in the Persian mythology, and certainly in the Greek mythology, which most of us as products of Western civilization are familiar with. Also in India, Bolivia, South Sea Islands. Every one of these cultures, and the American Indians, every one of these cultures have legends of the star people. These people that came, these gods or demigods, whatever, came and cohabited with women and produced hybrids.
In the latter days, in part, will be distinguishable because of the rise of powers that have been suppressed or repressed over the years, but in the latter days, those powers will emerge once again. And one of our favorite verses has to do with some of the words of Jesus in Matthew 24, starting in verse 36, but of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. And what he's saying here is the days of Noah will be sort of transplanted into the latter day era. And you and I both believe we're seeing that right now.
Absolutely. One of the, in my opinion, we're looking at the return of the Nephilim. It's a different incursion than what happened thousands and thousands of years ago. I believe, I call it the coming great deception. And what we're going to see is, or what we are seeing, is this manifestation of orbs and craft and other phenomena, other anomalies. Meanwhile, shows like the History Channel's Ancient Aliens program is promulgating what I call the coming great deception. They're saying that E.T. created all life on this planet, that they genetically manipulated all life on this planet, that they started the world's civilizations and religions, and now are coming back at this critical juncture in human history. Well, Christians in the church better wake up to what is happening because this phenomena is real, burgeoning, and not going away.
Ancient myths are full of stories of gods descending to Earth to mate with humans.
According to many sources, including Norse mythology, Greek mythology, and even the Bible, we have the stories of these sons of God or actual gods from Mount Olympus or Valhalla, and they're coming to Earth. They find the daughters of men attractive.
According to ancient texts, the fallen angels not only physically mated with the women of Earth, they produced offspring. The Nephilim, a race of giants, similar to those portrayed in the story of David and Goliath.
I pretty much agree with how they start off here. There are many texts from all around the world that do seem to be speaking of the same thing. I also think that because of the eerily similar themes in these accounts, it's not wise to dismiss them altogether as a common idea that you would expect independent cultures to invent. I think this topic is worth looking into in depth. Ancient Aliens seems to hold two contradictory opinions about this issue. On the one hand, they seem to be clear that they believe that extraterrestrials came to Earth in the ancient past and had sexual relationships with human women because they found them attractive.
Ancient texts talk about the fact that whoever visited the Earth in a remote past, these gods, thought that Earth women were quite beautiful. So in many occasions, we find stories where those visitors essentially mated with Earth women. It was misinterpreted, misunderstood as something divine that came here. They were flesh and blood extraterrestrials.
When you look at Greek mythology and many of the mythologies around the world, they have these stories of gods coming down from the sky and have sexual intercourse with these humans and, in a sense, create a new breed of human.
When all these encounters happened, and when women slept with those gods, which can be found in multiple texts all around the planet, that those women actually had sex with extraterrestrials, not with gods, because gods do not exist.
But the view that this event involved lust and sex doesn't fit too well with the ancient astronaut theory. They would prefer the view that what happened was artificial insemination.
Today, artificial insemination. That's what happens today. You no longer have to have sex in order to have babies. We have the exact same description thousands of years ago, where women, without sleeping with anyone, all of a sudden became pregnant.
The problem is that these texts are so clear that a physical desire for women on the part of the angels was involved. So in order to make artificial insemination appear in the texts, Ancient Aliens stoops to a new low.
One of the Dead Sea Scrolls is called the Lamech Scroll. What is Lamech? Lamech was a shepherd. And one day Lamech, his woman, was pregnant. And he said to her, "This is impossible. I was not here for months." But his woman with the name Batenosh swears, "No one touched me." But Lamech doesn't believe his wife Batenosh, and he goes to his father, which was Methuselah. And Methuselah says to Lamech, "I can't help you. I don't understand this. I believe your woman, Batenosh, that nobody touched her, and I believe you. So what should I do?" So Methuselah goes to his father, the grandfather now of Lamech. His name is Enoch. Now Enoch tells to Methuselah that the guardians of the sky have made an artificial insemination into the womb of Batenosh, the wife, and he should accept this child because this child would be the father of a new human generation. And in the Bible, this is Noah.
They literally lie here. I suppose that von Daniken is banking on the fact that not many people know about the text that he is quoting from, and so they probably won't check his facts. So I guess he feels like he can just straight up lie to people about what it says. Let me break down some of the deceptions in this clip.
And one day Lamech, his woman, was pregnant. And he said to her, "This is impossible. I was not here for months."
The first big lie here is the idea that the reason Lamech doubted that Noah was his son was because he wasn't there for months, when the text clearly explains that the reason he doubted whether Noah was his son was because of the way Noah looked. Von Daniken just inserts, "I was not here for months," I guess to make it seem like it couldn't possibly be Lamech's son, which is very deceptive, especially considering that in the text, Bathanash, his wife, actually reminds Lamech of the day they conceived the child. And if you think that's deceptive on the part of Von Daniken, you haven't seen anything yet.
Now Enoch tells to Methuselah that the guardians of the sky have made an artificial insemination into the womb of Bathanosh, the wife.
This is unbelievable. In the text, Enoch actually says the opposite. Enoch clearly confirms that Noah is the genuine son of Lamech. So not only is Von Daniken bold-faced lying here about what Enoch says about Noah in the text, he is inserting the idea of artificial insemination out of nowhere on top of this lie. So you can see that one of the main founders of the ancient astronaut theory has absolutely no problem lying in order to make the crucial link that they need between the Nephilim and artificial insemination in ancient texts. Although I sympathize with the ancient astronaut theorists in that I think that the consistent details in the ancient texts about the Nephilim lead us to the conclusion that something weird really did happen in the ancient past, I don't think that the evidence points to it being extraterrestrials from another planet.
Well, the whole Nephilim passage, Genesis 6 verses 1 through 4, is admittedly weird. It's one of those go-to weird passages in the Bible that seems to come up, especially among people who would really resist or not have a supernatural worldview. But as weird as it is, the key there is a supernatural worldview. If we believe that there are intelligent beings outside our own created world, our own material world, if we believe in this thing we call the supernatural, if you have a supernatural entity, why would you limit a supernatural entity from doing that? Again, on what basis would you have for limiting that property? If you're going to allow for that, then this idea of being able to mingle with human flesh on some level or in some way proceeds from those assumptions.
I think that we've already seen that they are being deceptive with the evidence that they present, but I also think that they are being deceptive with the evidence they are not presenting. For example, in many ancient texts, from the ancient Near East to the ancient Americas, this hybrid or Nephilim event is spoken of in conjunction with a great flood. These stories, with slight variations, describe the flood coming because the hybridization was against the Creator's will.
Hey, there's flood stories in all these other ancient cultures, and look at that, so it must be, again, some collective memory and whatnot. And that's legitimate, but the problem is a lot of those same sources, those same apologists will conveniently, for one reason or the other, forget to include a lot of the other details that come along with those comparative flood stories. And one of those would be things like cohabitation or some sort of interaction between the divine world and the human world that results in or produces, kind of strange offspring like the Nephilim.
It's complex and pretty strange, but it's consistent, and it is a story that many diverse cultures have passed down to their descendants. They really believed that this unnatural union produced giants. But again, because the consistent stories of the ancient cultures conflict with the ancient astronaut theory, they literally just throw out the evidence.
Were they giants? Or is that the wrong word and the correct word should be extraterrestrial?
But the word Nephilim really does mean giants. And the context of the various stories clearly reinforce this idea. Their height is often described, or the dimensions of their weapons are given, things like that.
The term Nephilim really most accurately means giants. This is the way ancient translators themselves understood it, translators of the Septuagint and Aramaic translations of the Hebrew Bible. It gets pretty complicated to explain why that's the case. On my website, sitchiniswrong.com, if you click on the tab for Nephilim, you'll find an explanation there.
Part of the main problem, in my opinion here, is the differences in the definition of the word angel according to the ancient texts versus the definition according to modern pop culture. If you wanted to determine what an angel was, using the Bible or other Near East text alone, you would conclude that they have fully functional bodies, that they can have meals with people, they grab hold of people, they are often mistaken as humans. In the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, the people wanted to rape the angels. We find in the Bible that the angels that decided to rebel and have sex with human women had to leave a certain type of body and exchange it for another one before they could do this. The type of body that they were said to have left is described in this verse as a habitation. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. The word habitation there is a rare Greek word called okaterion, which is used only one other time in the New Testament to describe the type of bodies followers of Christ will attain at the resurrection of the dead. So basically, the angels were said to have left one type of body for another type, and the second type clearly was capable of sex and reproduction according to the Bible.
There is biblical precedent for the idea that their flesh can do things our flesh does. In other words, if you're going to assume flesh, then it brings with it the capacities and in some senses the limitations as well.
In other words, the Bible in detail explains what angels are and what their capabilities with their bodies are, which makes the following line from von Daniken even more deceptive.
How can angels have sex? This is impossible. In our view, angels were something spiritual, not something who has a body and has a feeling of sex, but they had sex.
Von Daniken's idea of an angel is defined more by Hallmark cards than ancient texts. Obviously, ancient cultures, including the writers of the Bible, believed that angels could and did have sex with human women. The various elements of this story are too common in ancient cultures to be chalked up to coincidence, in my opinion. But the details of these consistent reports do not benefit the ancient astronaut theory. In fact, if anything, it supports the idea that the narrative of the Bible is true, or at the very least that the specific details of that narrative was believed by cultures as geographically diverse as the Americas, the Middle East, Asia, Europe, and Africa. The idea of the Nephilim is a strange idea, but the idea that the texts which describe them are referring to ancient extraterrestrials does not fit the evidence, which is probably why Ancient Aliens has to misrepresent the evidence in order to make their points.
Jubilees is not the only ancient text that gives a different story of creation. There is a forbidden book, lost for centuries, that includes fallen angels, bloodthirsty giants, and a warning to all humanity. It is an ancient writing filled with divine secrets, dreams, and visions. A tour of heaven and hell, guided by the angel Uriel. The Book of Enoch is named for the man who the Holy Bible says walked with God.
Enoch walked with God after the birth of Methuselah 300 years, and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Enoch were 365 years. Enoch walked with God, then he was no more, because God took him.
The Book of Enoch is named for a man who's mentioned in one sentence in the book of Genesis. We only know one sentence worth of information about him. And yet, somebody stopped, paused on that name, and thought, Enoch. If he was taken up into heaven, what might he have seen?
It is a daunting manuscript. 5 volumes containing 108 chapters. For many ancient Christians, the Book of Enoch was essential. Yet it was banned from the Christian Bible.
We don't know why this literature was ultimately excluded from the canon. Perhaps it's because of its description of the fall of the rebel angels and their mating with mortals. Perhaps its understanding of the end of time fell out of favor with Jews and Christians.
The Book of Enoch begins with a warning to all humanity that a divine judgment has been rendered and a sentence will be imposed. God tells Enoch that all life on earth will be destroyed in a violent flood. And, as with the story in Genesis, God blames this evil on the sons of God, angels who lusted after the daughters of men.
These angels are sometimes referred to as watchers. They keep constant watch, and they decide one day, about 200 of them, that they're going to descend to the earth. They would like to very much make contact with these mortal women.
The Book of Enoch may have been an attempt to expand on the mysterious giants, the sons of God, and the daughters of the earth, spoken of in Genesis.
Anytime you read the book of Genesis, there are all kinds of unanswered questions. Suddenly, there is this quick few verses at the beginning of the flood story about giants in the land that come from the sons of God mixing with the daughters of the earth. And you stop and think, wait a minute, what's this all about? It's like it went by too fast. And you want to grab it and say, wait a minute, what was this?
The Book of Enoch offers a disturbing vision of the fall of the angels who lust after earthly women.
And they began to go into them, and to defile themselves with them, and they taught them charms and enchantments. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants whose height was 3,000 ells. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind.
That these angels have crossed over this boundary that they shouldn't have. They were spiritual beings, and they were to remain as such. When they decided to descend upon earth, this unleashed upon the earth all sorts of problems. Not only these giants who are bloodthirsty and violent, but also these angels went on to teach humankind a variety of forbidden crafts. They also taught human beings how to make weapons of war.
Now, the good angels, the ones not tempted by these beautiful women, go to God and say, you know, there's a lot of bloodshed caused by these bad angels. At which point God says we need to bind Azazel, the sort of lead fallen angel, to bind him and to then cast him into a pit. We might think of this as, how do we take care of nuclear waste in the 21st century? You take it out to a part of the world where no one lives, and you bury it as deep as you can. For this community, the angel was like that sort of nuclear waste. Dangerous, volatile.
After the rebel angels are cast into the depths of the earth, Enoch has a dream vision. The lead angel, Azazel, begs Enoch to plead their case before God, to petition the Almighty to release them from the depths of the earth. The request for clemency is denied.
This version of the fall of the angels was very popular in its day and maintained popularity for centuries to come. When we look at Dante's work on the Inferno, it's largely out of the material in Enoch. When we look at various snips of the New Testament, Enoch seems to be in play. In Corinthians, when Paul talks about women covering their hair so the angels won't be seduced and tempted, it goes back to the fallen angels tradition.
Another episode tells of Uriel, a powerful angel in charge of the stars, who becomes Enoch's guide through the heavenly realms.
Uriel's name, in fact, means God is my light. And whenever he is described, frequently in relation to God, he is situated to the east of God's throne. This is very interesting. Of course, the sun rises to the east. So this gets us thinking, Uriel, a figure associated with light, perhaps associated in some way with the sun, or the stars, or the idea of these heavenly bodies making their rotations daily.
And all these Uriel, the holy angel, who is the leader of them all, showed to me, and their positions, and I wrote down their positions as he showed them to me.
And so something is going on here with the stars. It may well be going back to the role of astrology and the study of stars in the Persian Empire that is now giving rise to this new awareness that constellations aren't just constellations of stars, they're constellations of power. And through this tour of heaven, Enoch gets the information, and he knows where the powers are, and to know where the powers are means that you have access to the power.
With its lush descriptions of heavenly powers and the horrors that await evildoers, even angels, Enoch was one of the most popular books among the early Christians.
We know that some early Christians considered the writings of Enoch to be authoritative, to contain actual revelation from God. So, because some people thought that, some influential people thought that, the book was used as you would use other books of the Bible.
After all, Revelation appears in the New Testament. But Enoch, for reasons that I think are fairly clear, was just considered a little too strange, a little too suspicious, a little too creative, perhaps, for the tradition. Having said that, there's no doubt that it was widely read and very popular.
Yet the Book of Enoch was denied a home in the official Christian canon. This imaginative tale fell into obscurity until the late 18th century, when a Scottish explorer named James Bruce came upon this mysterious text in Aksum, a city in the Ethiopian highlands.
Travelers to Ethiopia found manuscripts of these books and brought them back to Europe. This caused quite a sensation. I'm aware of scholarly reaction to them. People were excited about having these texts that we knew about only through allusion before this time, or a brief quotation. Whether this raised any questions in people's minds, canonical questions, should we put these books in the Bible? I'm not aware of really intense discussions of that sort.
Until the mid-20th century, the Book of Enoch was assumed to be of interest only to the very early Christians. We now know that Enoch was sacred to Ethiopian Christians all along.
Part of the reason why this probably became part of their canon is because of the mythic story of the foundation of the Ethiopian monarchy. You have Sheba, who goes to see King Solomon, and the story goes that not only does she bring gifts, she brings a little bit of something back home. She's pregnant with Solomon's son. That son is Menelik. Menelik is the first dynastic king of Ethiopia. He actually goes back and retrieves the Ark of the Covenant from Solomon because Solomon is not taking care of the kingdom properly. And the Ark rests reportedly in Aksum in Ethiopia. So when Christianity comes later in about the 4th century to Ethiopia, there's already a story there. There's already a connection to the Old Testament story. So the Book of Enoch and all these other types of books that are included within the Ethiopian canon become part and parcel of putting together this Old Testament story, this Old Testament link, with a very new Christianity that enters into the Ethiopian. They don't give up the old. They put it all together with the new and blend it together.
Large portions of the Book of Enoch also were found among the Essene literature, hidden in the caves of Qumran, as part of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
The Book of Enoch is one of many ancient texts which depict the Nephilim and their deeds. In 1947, a wandering shepherd stumbled on some writings hidden away in several caves near the Dead Sea. This collection, lost for nearly 2,000 years, became known throughout the world as the Dead Sea Scrolls. Included in the scrolls is a hidden book lost for centuries which told about fallen angels, bloodthirsty giants, and a warning for all humanity. This book gives an alternative and fascinating description of creation and the demise of man. It is an ancient writing filled with dreams and visions, a tour of heaven and hell guided by the angel Uriel. The Book of Enoch is named for the man who the Holy Bible says walked with God.
And Enoch walked with God after he begot Methuselah 300 years, and begot sons and daughters, and all the days of Enoch were 365 years, and Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Genesis chapter 5. The book of Enoch begins with the warning to all humanity. A divine judgment has been rendered and sentence will be imposed. God tells Enoch that all life on earth will be destroyed in a violent flood, and with the story in Genesis, God blames this evil on the sons of God, angels who lusted after the daughters of men.
These angels are sometimes referred to as watchers. They keep constant watch, and they decide one day, about 200 of them, that they're going to descend to the earth. They would like to very much make contact with these mortal women.
The book of Enoch was an expanded story of the mysterious giants, the sons of God, and the daughters of the earth, spoken of in Genesis chapter 6.
Anytime you read the book of Genesis, there are all kinds of unanswered questions. Suddenly, there is this quick few verses at the beginning of the flood story about giants in the land that come from the sons of God mixing with the daughters of the earth. And you stop and think, wait a minute, what's this all about? It's like it went by too fast. And you want to grab it and say, wait a minute, what was this?
They taught them charms and enchantments, and they became pregnant and bare great giants whose height was 3,000 ells. When men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. Enoch chapter 7.
That these angels have crossed over this boundary that they shouldn't have. They were spiritual beings and they were to remain as such. When they decided to descend upon earth, this unleashed upon the earth all sorts of problems. Not only these giants who are bloodthirsty and violent, but also these angels went on to teach humankind a variety of forbidden crafts. They also taught human beings how to make weapons of war.
Now, the good angels, the ones not tempted by these beautiful women, go to God and say, you know, there's a lot of bloodshed caused by these bad angels. At which point God says we need to bind Azazel, the sort of lead fallen angel, to bind him and to then cast him into a pit. We might think of this as, how do we take care of nuclear waste in the 21st century? You take it out to a part of the world where no one lives, and you bury it as deep as you can. For this community, the angel was like that sort of nuclear waste. Dangerous, volatile.
After the rebel angels are cast into the depths of the earth, Enoch has a dream vision. The lead angel, Azazel, begged Enoch to plead their case before God, to petition them and release them from the depths of the earth. The request for clemency is denied.
And now, the giants, who are produced from the spirits and flesh, shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, and on the earth shall be their dwelling. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies, because they are born from men, and from the holy watchers, their beginning and primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on earth, and evil spirits shall they be called. As for the spirits of heaven, in heaven shall be their place, but as for the spirits of the earth, which were born upon the earth, on the earth shall be their dwelling. And the spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, and work destruction on the earth, and cause trouble. They take no food, but still hunger and thirst, and cause offenses. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them. The Book of Enoch, chapter 15, verses 8 through 12.
Enoch tells us an expatiated story of creation and the depravity of the Watchers, or fallen angels, who created bastard children of gigantic stature with an intense evil nature. Their strength was prodigious and their appetites immense. Upon devouring all of humankind's resources, they started to consume humans themselves. The Nephilim attacked and oppressed humans and were the cause of massive destruction on earth. Enoch also wrote another book from the Dead Sea Scrolls called the Book of Giants. Only broken fragments remain from the original scroll. It tells more about the corrupt nature of the Nephilim and how they created all kinds of monsters, altering the DNA of animals and man. Enoch says their imagination was the only limit. It is my belief Enoch is explaining the dinosaurs and the bizarre skeletons which archaeologists have found. They were a part of the abomination which provoked God to terminate all living creatures. Modern science is constantly endeavoring to classify the remains within some Darwinian theory. It would take more faith to believe in them than it does to believe in the Bible. Many creationists, without understanding the antediluvian world, try to force some defensive explanation which fits their theories. Some scholars believe there were select dinosaurs created by God based upon a behemoth description in the book of Job, chapter 40, verses 14 through 24. They insist there is evidence of these creatures after the flood, but it's only conjecture. However, many of my own theories are conjecture as well. It makes sense that dinosaurs are related to birds when you accept the idea of the Nephilim crossbreeding the birds and animals. If you crossbreed a crocodile with a giraffe or an elephant, you can imagine what it would look like. All modern scientists agree the dinosaurs were destroyed at the same time by some cataclysmic event. Couldn't this event be a global flood? Some scientists say the sea life found in the Himalayas and other major mountain ranges is due to the fact that they were once seabeds. Is it possible the sea fossils found were deposited by a global flood? God destroyed the world because everything was corrupt, except for a few righteous people. I find it interesting that the science of today is again altering the gene pool under the guise of improving humanity. Are we back to creating monsters? Is it a sign of the end of days? Jesus said the end of days would be like the days of Noah, and the altering of DNA certainly qualifies us with the time of Noah.
The Nephilim on the earth in those days. Other translations say the word giants, which is somewhat of a, I mean, they were big, but they weren't called giants because they were big. They were called Gegenes, or they were called Nephilim, because they were fallen ones, and they were the progeny of fallen angels and women. And what's so interesting is that every ancient commentary, whether it's Philo, Josephus, the Book of the Giants, the Genesis Apocryphon, if you look at the Aramaic Targumim, all of these are saying that very thing, that it was angels, fallen angels, that came down and took women, and they created this hybrid race.
The Nephilim were a race of giants which once encompassed the entire earth. Today we know quite a bit about them. Archaeology has revealed the artifacts they have left behind. Their history is corroborated by the legends of virtually every culture of the world, including ancient literature, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Book of Enoch, and the Bible. The Inuit Eskimo tribe knew them as the Tuniat. That very same tribe of giants was known to the Norse as the Skraeling. Many people of Western Asia and throughout Europe knew them as the Scythians, who had at one point bested Rome in battle and were said to have been so tall that their feet came close to the ground when sitting on a horse. The ancient Hebrews knew them as Amorites and Canaanites. Sumer is the oldest culture of the world, and the Sumerians give us a tremendous insight into the origin of the giants. The Sumerians recorded that the Anunnaki, a race of celestial beings, the children of Anak and Anu, came to the earth and fathered a race of men, who then became the kings of mortal men. But the Book of Enoch gives us even greater insight to the origin of these giants. Enoch recorded that during the life of Jared, sometime between 3550 and 2550 BC, the sons of God came to the earth from heaven. Since we know Satan is the father of all lies, it is likely that Satan himself influenced them to do the deeds they did. He had puffed them up and built their pride, and for this crime of pride against the Lord, they were cast out of the heavenly realm. Angered for being cast out of their heavenly home and jealous of the beautiful new creation of God, they consorted to do ungodly things and swore an oath to each other that each would be equally culpable for the sinful things they were about to do. Their point of entry into the world was Mount Hermon, Israel, upon which they landed. Just as humans have special gifts and abilities and each is unique, so too the angels were unique, and each used their own special gifts for defiling mankind. So each taught mankind the arts which they themselves loved most. They took wives of human women whom they called beautiful, and fathered the race of giants we know as the Nephilim. Azazel was a lover of metals, and taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made them known to the metals of the earth, and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautying of the eyelids, and all manner of costly stones, and the coloring of tinctures. Semyaza taught the art of enchantments and root cuttings, and all manner of sexual seduction. Amaros taught the art of sexual lust. Barakijal taught astrology. Kokabel taught the constellations. Ezekiel taught the knowledge of the clouds. Arachiel taught the signs of the earth. Shamsiel taught the signs of the sun. And Sariel taught the course of the moon. Not only did the angels sin against man, but they sinned against animals as well. It is believed this means that they genetically engineered new kinds of creatures by mixing the genes of different kinds to create the mythological creatures of old. The corruption the angels had wrought upon the earth was so great that God decided to destroy both man and beast. So God commanded Noah, a man who was righteous and whose genes had not been affected by the work of the angels, to build an ark with which he would save the animals and mankind. But this was only half the story. The angels came and did their dirty deeds again, and created a second race of giants that filled the earth. This image depicts a Babylonian king, so large that he holds a lion in his arms like a man might hold a house cat. He also has 6 fingers and toes, which was common to some of the tribes of giants born after the flood, and is the result of a duplicate gene, an error, if you will, in the genetic tinkering of the Nephilim. There are a great many artifacts left behind by the Nephilim, including footprints which have been found in several places around the world. Skeletons of humans exceeding 16 feet in height have been found in Native American burial mounds and other places around the world. King Og of the Bible had a bed which was iron and 16 feet in length. This is a bed for a man that is 12 to 14 feet tall. The Nephilim vary greatly in size. Many Native American legends tell of men which were 25 to 35 feet tall and capable of throwing a bison over their shoulder and walking off with it. Most of these artifacts have been swept up by the National Geographic Society, and most notably by the Smithsonian Institute, in an effort to hide the legitimacy of the Bible from the world. The angels cast out of heaven brought a technological explosion to the world. And likewise, their children, the Nephilim, also brought a technological explosion around the world after the Noachian flood. All within a couple of 100 years, great civilizations arose everywhere around the world. The Egyptians, the Chinese, the Sumerians, the Babylonians, the Mesopotamians, the Native American cultures all arose approximately the same time. This explosion of knowledge was due to the Nephilim, who acquired this great knowledge from their forefathers, the angels cast from heaven. And at that time, the Nephilim created monumental statues, and buildings all around the world as well, carving stones weighing up to 3,000 tons with mathematical precision. Stones so heavy and large we are incapable of moving them with modern equipment to this very day. Many like to believe that the giant statuary all around the world and all of the cultures of the world is merely an exaggeration of the kingship. This is false, however. They are actual depictions of the true sizes of men. Native American statues, for example, often depict the angels which were cast from heaven. The same is true in Babylonia, Sumeria, Egypt, and other cultures. This modern example of a Native American totem pole depicts an angel cast from heaven, fathering a Nephilim child. This chart shows us the great size of ancient giants. At the far left we see a normal man of 6 feet height, and at the far right a man of 36 feet in height. It also shows us how common the various giants were in their height. For example, it was most common for a giant to be approximately 15 to 16 feet tall. The next most common was approximately 8.5 feet, and so on to 36 feet. There is becoming a general consensus amongst historians that the most common tribe of giants in the world were the Kurgan. This statue in Russia depicts a Kurgan warrior approximately 25 feet tall. The Kurgan were the largest tribe of giants in the world. They originated in southern Russia and encompassed the entire world. The Kurgan had been genetically traced around the world with haplogroup X1 and haplogroup X2 genes. During World War II, the Nazis attempted to recreate the Kurgan by genetic engineering. There were giants in the earth in those days and after that, as these Danish axe heads clearly demonstrate, for it would take a man at least 15 to 20 feet tall to swing an axe with a head that weighs between 150 and 200 pounds.
I don't know of any other example of a footprint in rock that is as amazing as this. And this should be drawing 20 million tourists to South Africa every year, and nobody knows about it. It's unbelievable. There we have it. Let's get closer. Oh wow. This is just beautiful. Look at this. There's the, you know, when you, there's the big toe and the other 4 toes down to the small toe, down to the heel. What's fascinating about this is anybody that does a study of this will notice this piece sticking out here. It's like when you put your foot in mud and you pull it out, your toes will lift up a little mud where your toes were, and that's exactly what seems to have happened here. This rough granite is just, it's pulled up. This overhang here, it's spectacular. And I see that people have been visiting here because they've been leaving little coins here, which is wonderful. Maybe just come closer and show this from more close up. Okay. Well, I don't know who else has filmed this, but I think we'll put this up for everybody to see, for everyone to really appreciate this is a spectacular bit of human history. There were giants on Earth.
There were giants in the earth in those days, and when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children, the same became mighty men, which were of old men of renown. The Maya and Incas of South America believed a race of giants existed on Earth before the Great Flood. So did many other ancient civilizations. Some took them for gods, others left likenesses of them in stone or wrote about them in their histories. The Greeks and Romans told of blood falling from heaven and landing in the lap of the earth goddess Gaia, who gave birth to the Titans, a race of fearsome giants. Perhaps the most famous of all was Goliath, the Philistine, one of 5 giant brothers. Vendell Jones is an archaeologist with a style of his own. He spent a lifetime tracking down Goliath and the Ark of the Covenant, with which the Jewish holy book of the Midrash tells us the giant made off.
Goliath thrashed his way through the Israeli soldiers, ran over and scooped the ark up on his shoulder, slew Pinchas and Hophni, and took the ark back to the camp of the Philistines.
It was in this field, 15 miles southwest of present-day Jerusalem, that legend says Goliath was finally slain. Not by a giant warrior like himself, but by a puny boy, David, who, as this 9th century BC tablet indicates, would later become king of the Israelites.
David reached into his script. He pulled out this black thing with long leather straps, and he put it on his arm and wrapped it like this, and said, "You have come against me with a buckler and the armor and a shield and a sword, but I'm coming against you in the name of the Lord God of Israel." Then he reached in and pulled out another set of leather straps, but this one had a stone in it. And like this, the shepherd boy cracked Goliath, stunned him. He didn't kill him. Goliath fell on his hands and knees. David ran over and took the sword of Goliath, this enormous sword that had killed Hophni and Pinchas. And with Goliath's sword, he decapitated him.
Just 2 miles from where the famous fight took place stands an 80-foot overgrown mound. This is believed to be Goliath's final resting place, Though no one knows for sure because it's never been excavated,